we are now in Haaga-Helia University in Finland, and we're talking about the future of online education and how business people can learn new things using online education, which is changing really fast. I'm here with Dr. Gerard Danford. Thanks for coming to our interview. Can you first answer how or why we need online education in the future?
Thank you for having me. People are busy. We have lots of commitments in our life. We have careers, we have family, we have other things. We have learning, if that's on our list of things to do, and we just can't fit it all into 24 hours in a day, and that's where the online learning mode of education helps, because it's accessible and it's available at your time, at your place,
and it's really good, and we have
affordable in many
exactly
cases,
and it's flexible, and you have been in the last 6 months, you were traveling all over the US interviewing different universities including Stanford and many others as to how they are doing online education. And can you share how do you see the future of online business education? So if I'm a business professional and all of a sudden I need to learn digital marketing or logistics or something else, now there's a lot of options as to how to do it online. However, there's a lot of question marks and so on. So how do you see the future in this area?
There's a lot of talk about the quality of online education and comparing it with traditional brick and mortar delivery methods, and it's been proven and shown that it's almost as good as, if not as good as, traditional educational mode of learning in a way. So I think the research has proven that it's very close. So I don't think there's a quality dimension there that people are thinking it's inferior in some way or doesn't meet the standards of traditional education. So I would say that's no longer an issue. It's been continuously getting better, the quality. The outcomes, the results using online modality aren't always as good for students, and so that raises the question, who is the ideal learner that should be using online mode of learning? And so there's a lot of research going on now addressing that question, and what we're seeing is that independent learners, highly motivated learners do better in an online environment. So it has a lot to do with the learner and their commitment to educating themselves. The biggest sector for online learning is at a master's level degree, so in something like more than 20% of all higher education in the US at the master's level is being delivered 100% online at the moment, and that includes MBA programs and other more business-oriented nursing programs, very practical business, or commercially oriented type programs, which shows that it is a suitable mode for working professionals and business people.
Right. And also the cool thing is nowadays, I was just talking with some students, and you can learn not only with your computer but with your iPad and iPhone and smartphone and so on. So when you were doing this research and interviewing 30 and more different experts, did you find some common best practices, or let's say what were some of the key findings that were most interesting for you?
Good question. I interviewed more than 100 professionals in the field in 38 universities, from leading research universities like Stanford and Harvard and MIT to small community colleges and state public institutions, and also interviewed many private institutions. I would say that the most interesting things were to do with learning and learning outcomes, designing a program in a way that it meets the the objectives and goals in terms of learning outcomes that you want to achieve. It's very important, whether you're a company or you're an educational institution, that you are starting with the learning outcomes, defining the learning outcomes, measuring the learning outcomes, creating assessments in order to verify that people have achieved the learning outcomes, and then only after that really does the technology come in and the wizardry in terms of video and other types of technical delivery methods. But it should really begin with that, and I think that was a big lesson that you need to start from there. The second big lesson was that not everybody is suitable for online learning, and that's where you need motivated, engaged students who are committed to what they're doing, because it can be very demanding, and they aren't getting the guidance and the support that they would get in the classroom environment. So they need to be independent, motivated, committed type individuals. And the third thing that we've seen is that the online mode of learning needs to be engaging and active in a way. You need to have content, you need to have activities that engage the learner and have them completing tasks, doing things, applying what they're learning, compared to the traditional approaches of just absorbing knowledge and information. Here it's about practice and application. I think that's what makes online programs successful.
That's a really good thing. And I think the engagement is the number one challenge, or one of the biggest challenges, right?
What we've seen is I had one interview in the US with a leading private university, and their major metric for success in their programs is the level of engagement. So they're measuring on an hourly basis how engaged the students are with their faculty and how engaged the students are with the content and the other activities that they have in the programs. And they feel that that is one of the major indicators of successful program as far as students are concerned. So trying to achieve those levels of engagement can be quite demanding. You have to structure a course and design a course in the right way. And that's another trend, I would say, in the marketplace, is that companies and institutions are using more instructional designers and instructional technologists. So their teachers are not technologists, and they don't always understand technology. So we need experts who understand how people learn, how can we design learning into the learning experience, and how we can measure it and assess it, and what technologies can be used to support that.
Exactly.
So we're seeing more experts coming who are providing that kind of know-how.
Exactly. And do you see that in the future?
Companies need that also, of course.
Exactly. And I think online education we need all the time more and more, because there's so many business things that are changing, so companies need to update the information. Do you think that in the future we will be, mostly the education will be done online, or is it always a mix of online and offline?
The trend at the moment is that there are about, let's say, 10%, 11% of all higher education students are studying online in one way or another. There's a lot of interest now in blended learning, where you have partially online, partially face-to-face type courses, and that seems to be the more popular modality at the moment. I think it's generally accepted that these massive open online courses, these MOOCs, are not going to totally disrupt the marketplace. They have influenced the marketplace, but that's not the way that it's going to go. That's the general opinion in the market, that they will not overtake the traditional ways of learning, that it'll become more blended, flipped, hybrid type courses, where you mix the traditional and the online elements together, and that seems to be the future there.
Yeah, because I think people always need that human interaction in some shape or form. and also new technologies. And one thing I actually didn't tell before the interview, that we are just in one of my courses, we are testing WhatsApp. So student will send me WhatsApp messages by voice messages, and then I try to answer with the best of my time.
If I could make one comment, just to what you said about WhatsApp. What we are seeing, what I saw in the U.S. also, was that digital literacy and information literacy is becoming much more important, and we're not teaching these things in traditional higher education institutions. And students need, all of us actually need to understand how to network online, how to discover new things, how to connect with people, and we need to learn how to do those things. We need to know how to use the tools like wiki, let's say a wiki, where we are communicating with others and contributing and sharing and adding to the knowledge that's out there. So I think there is a lot of talk now about how we can educate people to be more digitally literate. And that's part of it, because we assume that digital natives are capable and able to use these technologies, but that's not necessarily the case. They're not able to do that. So
I agree, and that's also true that you say that from the really early age everybody should learn networking.
But regarding teachers, what the lessons for teachers is that teaching online is different, so it requires some adaptation and changes, and part of that change has to do with the students and their behavior online. They don't want to sit for an hour and listen to lectures. They don't want to read long, detailed descriptions of things. They want things in kind of bite-sized, short pieces, and they also want to be assessed quite frequently so they can see that they're making progress and they're achieving things, so you can build in assessments to these things. That's really important, to reconstruct your content in a way that it can meet the needs of the online environment and the online learning context. That would be one thing. But at the end of the day, it's really all about learning, and teachers and everybody, whether it's a company or a teacher or whoever, we have to keep the learning in mind, and are we achieving our goals and outcomes that we want in terms of advancing learning. And this is just one way to do it. And you need measures, you need to measure. If you're going to construct an effective online learning environment, you need to have proper pedagogy and define your outcomes, have your assessments, but you also need your metrics, your analytics to measure whether you're achieving those goals. And also, if you can compare those achievements with previous methods of delivery, traditional in-classroom methods or whatever, it's very good, so you can see that you're making progress and you are achieving the goals. So analytics are becoming very important actually in the online environment.
So it's totally new thing for teachers, that teachers need to see how many times video has been seen, what's the retention rate of the video, and so on. And one student told me that she's watching the videos in my course on her mobile phone on the bus, which is quite amazing how things are changing. So thanks for sharing all these, and there was a lot of information. You can check video many times if you want. Anything else you would like to add as to people who want to learn more about the future?
All I would add would be, don't be afraid. Reach out, look for interesting content. You can learn a lot online. Whether you buy that content, whether you get it free, there's an awful lot of knowledge and information out there. So we shouldn't be afraid to experiment and seek out that content that's widely available to all of us. And that's all I would say about that.
Awesome.
Thanks.
So thank you so much, Gerard.
Okay. Yep.